Ross Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence without parole for all nonviolent charges for creating a website. Please help free this peaceful man. Go to freeross.org and sign and share the petition.
So it's little wonder that smart shoppers everywhere take time out to pause and refresh. And where else but in the fountain where they serve ice-cold Coca-Cola?
The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 36, CBRN BoogBoi. Active Duty Anarchy, Peace and the Plague. Enjoy, fuckers.
Okie dokie. Here we are, the eMilitia, with a wonderful guest episode podcast with CBRN BoogBoi. Give him a follow under that handle on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
No, Twitter's too complicated for me.
Yeah, Twitter sucks. Anyway, so we're gonna be learning about him and what he's about and his forte and his niche in the Liberty community, but also just because y'all are idiots and y'all don't know who's talking by now, we're gonna go down the list and introduce ourselves again, like we used to. So start at the top.
What up, guys? I am Founding Fathers. You can call me Dads, and this is what I sound like.
I'm Bloody Revolutions, aka BR, and I'm the better British host on this podcast.
But you don't sound better.
That hurts, guns.
I'm Bootley.
That was good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's bootlickers do.
We call him Gramps.
I'm CBRN BoogBoi. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be doing this because my voice is only going to be on here like once. So anyway.
Oh, you're invited. You get to partake.
They still need to know. All right, we're going to skip over the woman because that doesn't matter. This is Guns and Guillotine. It's
You're
also
just joined. Oh.
Refs, we got a full house.
awesome.
Hey.
So I'm Guns and Guillotines. This is my voice. I mean, yep.
Rebs, we're doing intros. It's your turn.
My name is Rev, Rebellious go. Liberty.
Rebs, go.
And I'd like to welcome you all to the podcast. Today we have CBRN.
Oh my gosh. All right, good job. Good job.
Okay, so
Good effort, though.
I'm Rebellious Liberty. I'm on Instagram and stuff.
I'm Resurrecting Freedom, aka Rezi, formerly Hang 'em for Freedom, and this is my voice. And
Rest in
Reps,
peace.
Rest
you
in
should get
peace,
some
Hang 'em.
charcoal powder.
R.I.P. Hingham.
Love John the Princess Bride. Really good stuff.
So
Anyway.
This
Get to
is
make it.
CBRN BoogBoi's. We're gonna focus on him because he has a lot of really good information, especially now because of this coronal virus. So anyway, buddy, CBRN guest, why don't you give us your background, man? Talk about yourself for a little bit. What made you the way that you are?
How am I the way that I am? Honestly, it was real quick and like real recent. I'd say maybe like 6-7 months ago, I was at work, and one of my JTAC buddies was like, "Hey man, I just got an AK-47 for the Boogaloo," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And from there, I literally just looked up memes, and it's actually ironic. I'm a little starstruck that I'm talking with Resurrecting Freedom, formerly Hang 'em for Freedom, one of the first pages I ever followed on one of my Anon accounts.
We'll check that.
Yeah, and all of his memes is really what got me into everything. I started following more people in the community, and the final straw was the same thing with like everything for me. I would see him post memes about like, cops and how all cops are bad and, all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to like that, but I'll like everything else. And then one day I was like, wait a minute, they're pretty horrible. And yeah, it was a real quick plunge. I'd say like a week and a half. I went from like full blown conservative to like, minarchist, anarchist, and I'm still learning more and more about it every day. I mean, Empress of Memes, she taught me about agorism. Well, then she told me to look it up, and I kind of am still learning about it. But yeah, it was real quick, and I decided to make a page right after that, really just to be a shit poster, and really with no intent of ever getting to where I am now. And here I am at like 11,000 followers.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Thank you.
I have never heard of such a quick transition.
It was real quick.
So like, how the fuck does that happen in a week? Are you, for our listeners' sake, I know you talk about this in your post, are you still active military?
Yes, I am, unfortunately.
How'd this recent transition rock your world then?
Awful.
Oh god. Welcome to the community. Self-loathing is a requirement.
It's just honestly like it's a struggle going to work because I'm not just somebody that just joined like I've been in for a minute and I'm in charge of people. So whenever they ask me like, "Hey, Soren, can we learn about this?" and I'll be like, "You really want to learn while we go over to Afghanistan and kill little brown kids for no reason?" All right. And then
Nice.
that's
Sick,
not really so I kind of have to curb my politics a little because I can get in trouble at work. I don't as much as I probably should, but it kind of sucks. It really does. I wish that any veteran or person in the military, they don't come to this movement until after they get out because it's just awful.
So I've heard you talk about your job in other podcasts and your posts and stuff. So you were you combat arms or are you currently combat arms? Like
I'm still currently combat arms. I've never been anything not combat arms. My CBRN training, it's it's like the fourth job that I you have like additional duties in the army like like other tasks, and that's fortunately one of mine. Yeah, that's it's been a couple of years, but yeah, we're all just glorified janitors.
Every Marine a janitor. Not that you're a Marine, but so what made you passionate to share CBRN kind of information? Like what made you think like I gotta get this out there, or was it just like a component of your shitposting name, and then you're like, oh, I should share information, or was it just right from the start, like I wanna be informational?
So I made the name. I was like, I want to get out information to people, but I'm also like I'm not the smartest person when it comes to like all the anarchy or any of that stuff yet. So like I don't really want to post about that stuff at the moment. When I first made my page, I mean now I'm just like, yeah, fuck it. I only know a little bit, but I'm gonna share my opinions on shit anyway.
I think that's all of us.
That's pretty much where we're all at.
But at the beginning, I was just like, yeah, I see all these people talking about, like guns and everything's about guns. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love guns, and I'm way more savvy when it comes to like.
That's really nice.
I'm way more savvy and trained in, tactics, guns, even just using foreign weapons and all that. But I'm like, like that's oversaturated. So what could I actually provide people? And I'm like, well, medical, Dr. Boog's already got that covered. That's like my next best thing. And then I'm like, well, being a fucking dick watcher for piss tests, I mean, that has no fucking relevant information for the community.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in our community who would be very interested in your experiences. Like detailed, information heavy, intrusive, like.
Well, let me tell you about the Wizinator 3000, a thing that soldiers are using to pass their drug tests.
I think people would be genuinely interested, is my concern.
But yeah, then I went down the line and I'm like, well, I have CBRN training and I have a lot more of it than, the average soldiers, so I might as well. I never seen anybody talking about like what happens when tear gas comes out, and if we do rallies or shit happens.
For our average, we go over what CBRN, what it means, what it stands for. Do we go over that yet, or do we not?
I'll hit it real quick. It's chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear.
Gotcha. And that covers a wide array of things we don't really think about. We just think about bullets flying.
Can you say that
ways.
Again? Yeah, one more time. slower for the read.
That is a chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear.
All right, one more time.
There you go. You've already had it twice, Barney style.
Are you a Marine?
He couldn't get in.
Come
I
on,
know
now.
bullet boys are gonna love this one.
I tried. The recruiter said that I only failed the test by 30 points, though, so I was pretty close.
Didn't lick the window quite hard enough. But yeah, when you it wasn't that long ago, and you've just blown up in this community that I got a message from you saying like, oh, could you just share what I'm doing? I was like, oh, fucking sweet. I've never heard anyone even talk about masks or like preventative measures for any of this stuff, and I'm all about information, so seeing that was awesome, and just looking at a few of your posts, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, this guy is on it,
I felt a little weird because I messaged a lot of people. I'm like, hey, like I'm trying to do this thing. I see it's not really well known in the community, and I'd feel like no, I don't know if I want to say this. To me, not to anybody else, like to me personally, if I had posted like all this stuff that like I felt was important and then had like 10 followers out of it, I'd be like, okay, cool, nobody gives a fuck, and I would just get rid of it. To me, I'd just be like, like it's obviously not, people don't care about it, and that's how it is in the military. Nobody gives a fuck about CBRN training. That's like the least prioritized thing. So I was just like, yeah, if I'm gonna put out something, I want people to hopefully read it and maybe fact check me. And now like I see all these other CBRN pages popping up, and I'm like, that's awesome, because I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to post CBRN shit. Like there's so many more qualified people out there now making content that like anything I say is on a much lower knowledge level than some of these other pages out there now. So
Oh yeah, like I mean I didn't see anyone posting like tactics kind of stuff in the simple slide by slide meme format, and I'm not the authority on it by any means. I'm a fucking Sandhurst washout, but I know a little bit, and I didn't see it out there, so I put it out there, and now you see all sorts of veteran anarchist types doing their own thing, and yeah, fucking love it. Just showing that there's an interest in it, and then everyone else is like, oh yeah, I know some stuff.
I know it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, all about that. Definitely don't want to have a fucking monopoly on it. But if anyone knows something, like anything that's relevant, fucking put it out there. The knowledge is power, etc.
Absolutely. And I don't know if it was like this for you, but a bunch of people would DM me, like when Feel the CBRN started. They're like, hey, this guy's copying you. He's
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's not fucking copying. He knows more than me. And I was talking to him, and this dude, like, he has years of training as opposed to just like my couple months, and he's actually done and applied a lot of these things, and I just refer a lot of people to him at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like that's why I've been reaching out to other people in our community, because there's a few chapters. Like I did a medical chapter way back when, and a few people DM me afterwards, like, yeah, it wasn't great. I'm like, no, you're right. It's fucking British Army medical training, which isn't good. We're like 15 years behind the rest of the world. And then I started looking at some other stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, fuck this. I'm gonna get someone else to write it when I do the book. And just to have that feedback, like I would never claim. I'm sure you're the same way. Never claim to be the authority on it. It's like the more out there, the merrier. And actually getting feedback, it helps it to evolve. Because we can always say like, okay, fuck that last post. This is an update on that, or go check out this person. They're so much more knowledgeable. I'm quite happy to do it.
Yeah, and just living in an echo chamber where everybody is just like, yeah, like, like this is awesome, and I love the people that message me like thanking me, but I like the people that are like, hey, I'm actually a prior like 74 Delta, or somebody that's in Chem Corps, and they're like, hey, this was a little inaccurate, and I'm like, oh, like thank you, like, and I have
seriously.
Yeah,
like
I have a whole
the amount of knowledge you had when you started compared to everyone else on the gram. Like I just assumed you did chemical weapons shit every day. Like the way you were preaching it and everything, I'm like, man, this dude, he must be a chemical engineer or fucking something.
I wish I had a relevant skill that I could bring outside the military and get paid for.
The dream.
No, I'm just a fucking combat arms, way too fucking far gone in the military.
Well, the NRA range instructor position is calling you a name.
Oh, Jesus
Or-
fucking Christ. I almost joined the NRA right before I joined the Liberty community.
Oh, fuck.
Dodged a fucking bullet there.
God.
Dodged a fucking bullet.
You got saved. So I've seen you start on a branch a little bit away from the instructional and more into politics, which I'm liking, and it's nice how abrasive it is to some of your followers, because sometimes people get too comfortable. They need to kick up the ass. It's like, hey, the reason behind all of this is X, and that's what I'm all about, and it's nice to see other people doing it. I mean, you and Trid, you're both pissing people off with the MAGA stuff, and then more importantly, the peaceful resolution kind of post you did recently.
The one I did this morning?
Was it this morning? Fuck, it's been a long fucking day.
You're telling me.
But yeah, I'm loving seeing more of that, and I think we're really confusing the hell out of a lot of Boogaloo boys at the minute. I mean, yeah, your name, CBRN, BoogBoi, and then mine, Bloody Revolutions, and all these various pages that have kind of changed their tone recently. What was your reasoning for wanting to put out that message of, perhaps a Boogaloo, a collapse, civil war, whatever you want to call it, isn't our best bet?
It honestly, it was some of the DMs I would get. They would be like, "Hey man, like you want to join our militia?" And I'd be like, "No man, like that's not my like. It's cool if you do it. That's just not my thing." And they're like, "Oh well, like fuck you then." And then like like the 5 minutes I'd be in their group chat before I like read it, like I would scroll up and just see what they're talking about to see if I'm talking with people that are actually like sorry, Empress. I would scroll up and see if I'm talking with people that are like like actually out like doing relevant training, or if they're more or less just, I don't want to call them LARPing, but like just angry and just trying to be like like, oh, we're gonna create this whole local militia, and then we're gonna go here and we're gonna fuck these people up, and that's just not really my thing. I joined
You're not a
one.
Fed?
No, not my thing. And I'm sure there's feds in there, honestly. They already said that they infiltrate these little fucking militias.
Oh yeah, I mean, out and proud on their fucking, is it the ATF? Like, I think on their website they say that one of their tactics is infiltrating militias, and yeah, we've got a great history of doing that successfully. It's like, yeah, fuck all of that.
Yeah, and like the thing, like I saw these people, they'd post videos of their quote unquote training, and they would just be going to the range and just like mag dumping into targets, on a bright sunny day in like the perfect conditions. And I'm like, that's not train. That's good weapons familiarization, but that's not like training. And then I saw some other people just get angry, and they're like, we need to go do this to these people and that people, and it just became a fucking cesspool of just, I don't want to say ignorance, but just anger. And I understand their anger. But then I was like, well, I have a small platform now. I might as well, let them know that even though my name is CBRN BoogBoi, like I think the Boogaloo is just so terrible. Like if it were to happen, it would just be awful. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of mixed reactions to it, but I think I made it, or at least I tried to make it clear in some comments in the MAGA thing yesterday. Like, I don't argue with people. Like, I don't just go straight into just calling people fucking retards, because I don't think that accomplishes anything. And I'm just like, hey, like,
put up their walls.
Yeah, exactly. And you just radicalize them in their beliefs even more, and you create a hostility. But
your ideology will never win if you look way too excited to just kill people.
Exactly.
Like, you're never gonna look good to anybody.
Well, that and just violence is just terrible. Like I feel like these, I don't want to call them kids, but like even if they're 30 years old, and they're advocating for violence, I feel like they've just never been like punched in the face or something,
No, for real.
They don't know what they're actually.
War is fucking awful. Yeah, war is awful, and I really find myself repeating myself with the same thing that I tell my soldiers that join. They're like, hey son, I want to go to war and I want to fucking kill all these fucking terrorists, and I'm like, man, you really don't. Like, war is the coolest thing in the world until you're actually there. And I'm saying the same thing to people here. They're like, I want a Boogaloo, we need to boog. I'm like, you really don't want that, man. Like, it's awful.
Yeah.
That just made me get a little more political, and sometimes I do it just to kick the hornet's nest and put out, my opinions, and then other times I'm just like, hey, like, this is how I feel about it. If you guys feel differently, like, that's cool. Like, I'm open to discussion about it.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is put the message out there and hope that some people are willing to listen to the reasoning rather than just put up their defenses and be like, no, fuck you, I believe in this,
Right.
This ideology I found 3 weeks ago. Yeah, people are gonna take that the wrong way. Like, I'm not just shitting on people because they're like new to this, but so many that they'll call themselves libertarians and then talk about like curb stomping feds and hang them from the fucking trees. It's like, well, you guys know about the non-aggression principle, right?
The what?
Like yeah, and like like defensive warfare only goes so far. At a certain point, you're just echoing the atrocious monster you're trying to fucking get rid of. I mean, me and Emp were just talking about this with some agorist friends. I mean, if you're trying to get rid of a violent system with violence, we've had the American Revolution, and we fought for our freedoms, got rid of the fucking empire, free men, and now we live under the most powerful state that's ever existed. So taking out the state with violence in order to end state violence, not the best solution. And so I'm glad more people are putting out that message.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a revolution through violence just creates a, community of violence with the people's desire to control that violence with the state. So it's just an endless cycle.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I saw it in your post or someone else's, but effectively, no one's gonna learn from a violent revolution because, I mean, if your words and actions have failed you and you have to, it just comes down to violence. I mean, that's a universal language. Every ideology has attempted that, and guess what? We don't have a free society yet. So, but yeah, it's good to see that messaging growing. And a lot of people take it the wrong way. They're like, oh, you guys are pussies, and you guys are hypocrites. It's like, well, no, we're consistent. Like, we want our guns and shit, and we believe in being prepared and being like as capable of violence as possible in the hopes we never have to use it, and making every attempt to not use it until we are up against a wall. Not literally like in the communist sense, but until we have literally no other options. And most people, I feel like they're quite lazy with when they reach the conclusion that there's no other option. They don't read into this stuff enough. They want it now. It's that impulsive. I want my revolution today kind of
instant gratification revolution.
Man.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the anger people feel when they first get converted. Because I think you'll see a lot of the newcomers more right away wanting violence. And I think it's just a reaction, Most people are pissed. It took so hard to get them to change. Well, most people, not CBRN. But like a lot of people, it took a long time for them to realize what they have always been told is not the truth. They've been lied to all this time. And that in itself just generates feelings of violence with them. And some of the people that you see stick around the community for a while, you'll notice that it'll start tapering off and people go more towards the peaceful side, realizing that more violence isn't going to help the violence we have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all went through that a little bit, though. We all used to share quite a bit more Boog memes than we do now.
Well,
we were very good at fueling each other and the community. But I think nowadays a lot of us we're much more pleased to see an increasing amount of gray and black flags and profile pictures rather than yellow and black. And that's the conversion from anarcho-capitalism to agorism for those who don't know what the fuck I'm on about.
I have a ton of young followers that always ask me, hey, I'm too young to own a gun or do this. What should I do to train? And I always, always, always recommend they educate themselves over anything else. Yeah, and I say work out. It's usually educate yourself on the principles of liberty and work out.
You just got to be faster than the dude chasing you.
True.
The Loveland rally. How did that go for you?
It was exhausting, but it was awesome.
Yeah, me and Tridge were saying it's like, dude, just fucking talking to people. Like, it takes a lot of energy out of you because it's you go from being able to just like look down at your phone, answer a few things in your own time, and then you're being swarmed by people like, oh, are you blah blah blah, and talking to hundreds of people in a day. I don't know how busy Loveland was, but Jesus Christ.
It was honestly it was really great. I don't think we had nearly the showing that we definitely didn't have the showing that Virginia had. I saw Arizona was a couple thousand, right?
Yeah, about 3,000-4,000, I'd say.
I think at max there was only like 500 people. But we weren't like anywhere in like the Capitol or in front of any political building. We were just kind of on the street, not blocking traffic, but like standing in a divider, on the side of the roads. It was there was so much good shit that happened there that I probably am gonna forget a couple things, but for example, the money that I got from my patches, we donated close to $500 or $600 worth of food to a food drive there. Yeah, well, and it was funny too because the people that took the food for the food drive, they were like, "Oh my gosh, like, can we get a picture?" And like all the boys at this point were like, "Oh, is that CBRN over there?" And they all just like came over, and I'm like, "All right, well here it is." And I was like, "Yeah, can I just like get my gun and my flag?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course." So I grabbed the Bloody Revolution's Anarchy Anarchy Betsy Ross flag, and they didn't really want anything to do with us after that. They just kind of stopped talking to us after all the food was unloaded. Yeah, and I was like, well, this community, and I kept saying that, I'm like, it's not me that like got it's like the anarchy community and the libertarian community is what provided, the food, and we felt like we provided like the entire donation. There was only, a couple cans here and there, and we came through with, like I said, almost $500-600 worth of it. So that was great. We had our we called him our propaganda man, Boogaloo Jukebox, with his camera out there. He was out there getting some pictures. Not as many Trump flags and supporters as I thought, which was awesome.
My understanding of that was like the organizers were like, "Don't bring political shit."
Right.
and no anarchy flags, and most people, apart from a couple Trumpsters and of course yourself, which you're my personal hero for defying them. although what a fucking shit instruction. Anarchists, don't bring anarchy flags. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like what anarchist is gonna actually fucking listen to that bullshit?
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but now I'm gonna.
Now since you listen to the fucking
just a poor idea.
Yeah, when we got interviewed by this dude, and he was like, "So how do you guys feel about being told?" Because the original question was like, "Hey, so like who do you identify with? Like why are you here? Who are you?" And he's like, "We're an anarchist. We're like anarchists and shit." And this guy's like, "Oh, well, how do you feel about the organizers saying no anarchy flags?" And I'm just standing there, and I was like this one? And he was like, "Oh, I guess it doesn't matter." And I'm like, "No."
Nope.
There one extra.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I love
no,
it. And
go ahead.
Like what I'm completely tooting my own horn, so I gotta try not to like self-fellatio too much. But like the nice thing about that flag is like it's just anarchist enough to piss someone off, but like it's stars and bars, so that they can be like, oh yeah, cool, they're waving the flag. Oh wait, it's not an outright like Antifa looking flag.
The thing about that flag is that got more attention from people that weren't already in, the little group of people that we had going there. Like this one dude, this was the funniest fucking thing that was said to me all day. This one dude comes up to me, he's like, what kind of flag is that? I'm like, oh, it's an anarchy flag. And he's like, like the United States of America and anarchy? And I'm like,
Yeah.
That doesn't really exist, but all right, man. And
working on it.
We're working on it. and I had more. It was really surprising. People weren't like angry or upset with it. More people were genuinely interested in like, well, what do you mean like you're an anarchist? And then we explained it wasn't just me. This was a great thing about it. There was a ton of people, like not to toot my own horn like either, but like I'm sure you had it at the Arizona rally where just a bunch of people just started to like following you around and and people would ask these questions, and it was like one person asked a question and one person from the little group following me left and talked to them about agorism. And then, like it just kept going like that. There was this dude that was holding an NRA sign, like support the NRA. And I just went over and talked to him, and he was like, well, what is, I told him about gun policy. I'm like, yeah, like gun policy is probably a better alternative. He's like, well, what is that? And then he's like, looked it up on his phone, comes back to me later at the rally. He's like, dude, fuck the NRA. And I'm like, thank you. So it was really really successful. And this was like an old typical FUD, it was really successful, and people actually, getting out and talking to people, and not just, it wasn't hostile. There was no anger besides the people that found out I was an anarchist when I tried to give them food.
What a strange reaction.
We won't accept donations from your kind.
Oh no, they definitely took it, but they wouldn't. They didn't want anything.
We
to do
will
with
reluctantly accept donations.
But yeah, it was awesome. So many people, were talking about agorism, and I even learned some stuff about it. It was a really, really good time, and I wish I could, travel more and go to rallies all around the country.
Yeah, for real. I keep on getting messages saying like, "Oh, you're gonna be at this rally?" I'm like, dude, I fucking wish. Like, I wish I could do that rather than my day job. But no, that's something a lot of people underestimate, because obviously we get the disgruntled like, "Whoa, well, it's not doing like any fucking thing. All these things are still passing," and it's like, well, we never expected to show up in full kit and everyone to be like, "Oh fuck, never mind." Like, we're not, like that's the dream, of course, but they're not just gonna dump the fucking bills because we're marching around. It's more just actually getting out and meeting people and fucking and it's nice because it's not just like an organized meetup between the battalions. It's we're mixing with the rest of the community, like gun community, and kind of freedom-minded types, but conservatives and such, who might be misguided. And then you can't really scream at us and call us horrible anarchists and all this shit to our face. I mean, you can, but it's a lot less likely when you're having a calm, civil discussion in person and you're sitting there on the side of the road, waving signs at cars and stuff. You got some time to actually discuss civilly, as opposed to online, where it's easy enough to just, call someone a fucking retard and then block them and move on.
No, absolutely. And what really made me happy was there was a bunch of whiteboards and people with signs, and one of the signs that I saw was like "fuck racism." So well, there's your narrative of calling us white supremacists just fucking gone. And
yeah, I'm really considering making another flag that's in that kind of tone.
And no, absolutely. Like, we control the narrative, and I try and tell people that all the time. Like, if we act like retards with guns, they're going to treat us like retards with guns. If we just act like civilized, angry Americans that aren't just going to yell at you and shoot you in the face for having a different opinion, like, we'll get somewhere.
Yeah. I think the most effective tool we have is the sense of humor this community has. I mean, you saw it in Virginia and VA, and I think a little bit in Arizona too. People, I think in Colorado, it was bring back mango jewel pods or something.
Yep, that was us.
Yeah, because people are like, "Oh, look at these," like when you look on lefty Twitter talking about the gun rights rallies, it's like, "Look at these fucking domestic terrorists." It's like, we're just shit posters. Like, a lot of us are just shit posters. Like, we're out there armed and talk about our rights and stuff, but we're not taking ourselves too seriously. We've got like a bunch of skull balaclava masks, atom waffen douchebags. We're like just chill about it. Like, we're serious, but we don't take ourselves that seriously, And like Virginia, you had the guy in the short shorts and plenty of signs, sort of making light of various narratives, because we're self-aware, and I think that's one of the best weapons. Because if you want to be a gotcha kind of photographer, photojournalist at these kind of things, and there's signs getting in the way of your perfect shot that say "fuck racism" when you want to make us look like white supremacists, or like you know, you're like, oh, look at how scary these guys are, and then you see bring back mango jewel pods in the background. You're gonna be like, well, this kind of fucking up my narrative.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it was just a great time, and I really, I'm sad because tomorrow is the Denver. We're actually going to the Capitol, and to repeal the red flag laws, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
got hit with being in charge of a range, so
Oh,
unfortunately
sweet.
I can't go.
So you're gonna be in charge of a bunch of guys NDing into their fucking feet while while people are marching on Denver.
Yeah, essentially, and there's nothing I can do about that one. So
that fucking sucks.
Get
Should just stuff your uniform with pillows and fuck off anyway.
Honestly, people wouldn't probably fucking notice or care because the way that I've been at work the last couple months, I've just been showing up and I've been like teaching my soldiers about fucking agorism, and then I'm like, yeah. So, and then I just
So I hope you
leave.
didn't buy a charger with that bonus. I hope you're ready to convert that into precious metals.
No, it was what broke my heart this week, and I mean this, like it literally broke my heart. There was this 18-year-old kid that joined, and he ended up coming to my platoon, and I it's called like an initial counseling. You have to give all new soldiers that come in there under your and then I was like, hey man, like why'd you join? And he gave a stereotypical like combat arms, and he's like, I joined to kill people, Sergeant. And I was like,
oh fuck me.
Here we go. So
Got a lot of work to do.
Yep. I just sat down and talked to him, and I was like, look, man, like your freedoms aren't over there. Those people, and I showed him pictures of these people that literally lived inside of caves in the side of the mountains. I'm like, is that guy really going to come over to America and harm you and your family? And he was like, well, no, Sergeant. I'm like, exactly. None of them are even capable. Like they're just people living their lives, and they're pissed off at us because we drove through their crop field and that's their only means of life. Yeah, they're going to shoot at us. I would shoot at people if I was back home at my farm and people were fucking my shit up, Like I would be way worse than the fucking Taliban, allegedly. And he came up to me, and this was, a little while ago I had this conversation. He came up to me the beginning of this week, and he's like, hey, can I use the open door policy with you? And I'm like, I don't have an open door policy, but absolutely, man, like come and talk. And he was like, hey, are we really just killing like brown kids? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm not trying to shit on your entire fucking purpose, but unfortunately like that is the reality of this situation. And he was like, that's so fucked up. I've been looking like, and he told me, he's like, I heard of this thing called like agorism, and I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. He found it himself. And no, it broke my heart because he still has another fucking, he signed a 5-year deal. Yeah,
that's a long fucking enlistment.
He just joined, and the first thing, like he's not even an E2, so he's still at the absolute lowest pay grade, lowest rank that you can be coming into the military, and it's already fucking ruined for him. And it breaks my heart that I did that, but I'm kind of happy that he did, because I rather him go over there and realize what he's doing so he doesn't do something that he comes home and then later on regrets, than him going there and doing that.
Yeah, that fucking sucks though.
My heart.
It's gonna make him think twice before arbitrarily chucking some ordnance out, in a crowded area, or fuck knows what they blindly firing and without considering what he's doing, or I mean, and then he's only gonna pass that on to his friends. He's gonna be like, guys, you ever heard of this thing? And
I mean, in 5 years, in 3 years, he's very more than capable of becoming an NCO and a team leader. And maybe if he deploys, unfortunately, if he does, when he's a team leader, he can make those decisions as a leader. Like, hey, we're not going to go fucking drive through this village and just kill people, Like, even if they like have guns, there's no reason to go into that village to begin with. So I'm not going to bring my team through that. And if that's, if that's what happens, I mean, I don't want him to deploy. I don't want anybody to fucking deploy anymore. But if it happens, I'd rather there be at least a couple soldiers that are more or less just like, hey, we shouldn't be over here and we shouldn't be doing this, so I'm not going to go over there and do that.
Okay.
We're way off topic and I'm rambling.
Oh,
but,
that's what this is about, bro.
That's your episode, man. If it's coming out of your mouth, it's on topic.
That's on this format. That's what we do. That's what we do. This is for you.
Well, I'm glad I'm on brand. The biggest thing that drives me up the fucking wall with the military and PTSD, one of their characteristics of PTSD, how they define it, is oh fuck, now I'm blanking on the word.
I think
It's
I know.
an unobscured view of the government and military operations.
So they say a characteristic of PTSD is having an unobscured view of the military. Is that what you said?
Of the military and government operations. That's a characteristic of PTSD. So they know that people go over and they do bad shit and they come back and they reflect on it and then they're like, wait a minute, this is totally like fucked. And they're just so, that's why whenever I see like PTSD veteran has like guns confiscated, I'm like, yeah, it's really fucking easy to slap anybody that's ever deployed with PTSD, because if he posts a meme that's like, oh, like government's kind of bad, even if he isn't full blown anarchist or libertarian, he's just like, oh, the government did this one thing wrong. They're just like, oh, PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, and with that label, you can, they're a damage case, and of course, with red flag laws, you can fucking disarm them. It's a fucking dangerous label, and to slap on someone for thinking and reflecting.
Absolutely, and it's just, yeah, it's fucking awful. And for them to make that they have to know. They're like, oh, this shit's probably fucked up, so how can we mitigate the risk to us?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he has PTSD. That's why he's saying that the government's bad. Duh.
We'll blame the victim.
Oh Christ. Yeah, the military talks about the military. They usually get a little bit dark around here because it is one of the most sinister branches of our government, and just the way they cover their ass, it's so much more. It's fucking brutal the way they just clamp everything down. Like, oh well, if this happen, if they start to go this way, then label them like this. If they become a real problem, disarm them. If they
it's a flow chart.
Yeah, seriously. Where do we go from there?
I could talk all fucking day about how much the military is just garbage and corrupt.
Do it. Preach. Let me grab my whiskey. We're actually very on topic. I think we've hit.
Yeah, we're way ahead. We're doing great.
We've kind of hit everything. So, is there any like extension of that topic that you'd want to go into? Any facet of it, or?
It's up to you guys. I'm an open fucking book besides my specifics and my actual job.
I guess a good way to go after that conversation would be so we've all done our best to try and dissuade our followers and people in the Liberty community from joining, because a lot of them went through this process of, oh, well, the Boogaloo's happening. I want to get free training. I'm going to join the military so I can fight the government. And, I mean, we can point at them and call them idiots as much as we like and say, I told you so, but that doesn't really change much for them. So I guess what would be your advice for them to, not get fucked up and to cope with being in the military? Like they've just signed their fucking contract, knowing everything ourselves, buying the bullet, etc. kind of say about this stuff. How would you help them get through an enlistment?
Don't say anything that'll get you in trouble to the wrong person. If your NCO is a fucking cockbag, you'll know instantly. But talk to other people, especially if you're a newer soldier, a younger soldier, and you live in the barracks. One thing that has surprised me is just how many other like-minded people there are in the military, and just how they keep quiet about it. They might not be as radical as you, but they will share a lot of similar beliefs when it comes to the government, which is kind of mind-blowing, because you ask anybody in the military, especially like combat arms, like, hey, do you trust any of these politicians to make any decisions with your life and where you go? And everybody will be like, fuck no, they're all corrupt. And then we're like, oh, cool. Well, that's exactly what you're doing. But just talk to people, and you'll be surprised at just how many people share your beliefs, and just how impressionable you can be if you don't just come at people calling them, It's the same thing with just talking, to anybody. If you come at them with like, hey, like, isn't this kind of like weird, And then, well, yeah, that is kind of weird. Or no, it's not. Then you just explain yourself, and that'll help you a lot, because then you'll build a little network of people who you can, in like if something fucking crazy is happening, or if you have to go out on a mission where some shit's going down, and it's good to have that network within you. And my DMs are always open. I literally answer every single DM I get. I'm waking up like an hour early now just to do so, but I answer all my DMs. But the biting the bullet guys, they're great to talk to. I've talked to them a few times about some shit that I've been in, told them things I've never told anybody else. But that's a thing about the veteran community, is that there's just unspoken trust between most of us. I mean, there's a couple fucking chads, but for the most part, just talk to people and pray that your NCO isn't a fucking cock.
Yeah, it's the real hit or miss with that. I mean, either you got someone who's like a career guy who doesn't care about fucking over his dudes as long as he looks good, and then you got others like yourself who you just want the guys to be all right at the end of it. That's fucking massive.
They say the higher ranking you get, the little more common sense gets taken away from you. And not to sound all boastful, but like it's been the opposite for me. I was a younger enlisted, just like E3 fucking PFC team leader on my first deployment, and they were like, hey, you're in charge now. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be a fucking tyrant. And I was a fucking tyrant, and that's a lot of response. I was fucking 19. In charge of 4 people, like nobody. It's not a good situation. But as I've climbed the ranks, I was an E5 squad leader in Ukraine, and you just slowly start to realize more and more and more, or the complete opposite, you just drink more and more and more of the fucking Kool-Aid, and then next thing you know, you're Dan Helmer.
Good old running Dan. Has he still not responded to your emails?
He has read them, but he has not responded. I don't think he ever will, but I will forever, until he's out of office, remind people about who he is.
Fucking coward. And for those not aware, Dan Helmer is the man who ran away from our good friend Trigi when confronted at the town hall. What was it? Every Town for Gun Safety, whatever the fuck it was. Ran away from questions. This strong veteran, and you better thank him for his service, because he will remind you until you fucking do.
As about leading soldiers into combat. Great job, Dan.
Yeah, very excited for Prius Humvees, because renewable energy is the reason that our good boys are dying in the Middle East.
Everything he says, it starts out with, well, I'm an Afghanistan veteran. I served in her. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
All right, where's this going? Cool. I just hear a man gagging on the cock of his party. Okay, cool. It's like wah wah wah, except it's. I guess we want to get into some knowledge dropping. But so if you don't have a good answer, just give him a bullshit answer. Just go above and beyond with bullshit, and we'll make it work.
You know what? If I don't know the answer, I'll reference somebody that does. How about that?
All right, that seems a lot more. Sounds a lot more sensible. All right, so our first question is, how effective are secondhand masks? Should you ever invest in a secondhand mask?
If you can buy from a reputable source like A.N. Fox or Fort Bragg Army Surplus, yeah, they're good to go, but just be cognizant. It's like buying anything used. If you buy a used gun online, somebody can be like, oh yeah, I only put 100 rounds through the barrel, and then you get it, and then it's obvious that like 3,000 rounds have been through it. So yeah. Just be cognizant of what you buy online and try and buy from a reputable source.
And if you were looking at a mask in person, perhaps a surplus, whatever, what would be a good way to tell if it was worn, used heavily to a point that's like it's not worth it? Is there any quick way to tell? Or
it really depends on the mask, but the major things you can check out, it's all the obvious things. Ask to see pictures of the seal. The sealing portion of the mask, the rubber. If the rubber's damaged, cracked, fucking, cut, anything that doesn't look like a smooth transition, don't buy it. If any of the faceplate or the, the eye holes are, broken, cracked, scratched, don't buy it. But really, it's hard to tell with masks because you can just polish them up real quick and make them look good, when really they've been gutted, and like all the internal actual working parts, the important parts just aren't there anymore. So I say buy from a reputable source.
Yeah. And how expensive is like a average entry level solid good to go mask? Like is it really even worth looking at secondhand stuff? Like are they prohibitively expensive or are they quite affordable?
If you can afford a Geisley trigger, you can afford one of the best masks like on the market. You know, there's a ton of options out there, but like you know, the M50, the Avon M50. Sorry, Mira. It's a great mask. The issue with that is it's overpriced because they have a government contract and the military uses them, and they don't regularly sell to civilians. But I've seen some where you can grab for like 180 or, you know, in between like 180 and like $300 that are good. You know, the Mira masks, they're all fucking fantastic, not just to plug them because, you know, I get a little kickback from them, but they really are just great masks and they're a great company. I'm actually meeting with their CEO this month down in Texas.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the MSA, another great company. You can get some Millenniums for like, you know, bucks, and they're great, good to go masks too.
Yeah, I mean, and that great fucking answer about the Geisley trigger thing. I mean, a mask is much more likely to save your life than a nicer trigger. For real, like all this prepping stuff. I mean, there's so many other kind of you know, disasters, man-made and natural, that you're gonna be grabbing food in your go bag, and your rifle's gonna be secondary. It's like, well, I'm gonna bring it with me, but my mask and my food and shit, that comes first. And
well, also if you're looking in your safe and you got 3 triggers, like, hey, maybe spend money on a mask next time.
Yeah.
It's like plates. I mean, I'm not saying a mask is as important as plates, but you know, in like a list of priorities for me, it would be like weapon, plates, fuck ton of ammo, and then I'd look at other things that will protect me. A mask, you know, a med kit, all those things, PPE. You know, it all falls under that.
What about Q&A, boys? Have you guys gotten?
Oh, that's what we're doing, man.
We're on Q&A. All right. I have some.
This is why I didn't follow you.
Damn. I have a couple of these, like, whatever.
Fire away, man.
Here. One more time, what are the reputable sources for best surplus? Like best surplus here?
Aeon Fox. I'll just spell that because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's just AEONFAWKS. You just Google that and it'll bring you right to their website. It's veteran owned and he's all for the community. He's great with surplus mass. He's great with, you know, very reputable with used equipment, not just masks. Fort Bragg Army Surplus. It's not a store like in person. It's an online store. They get a lot of privates stealing their gas masks from the military and selling them to them, and they sell them for like $200. So, you know.
Good shit. That's what we like. Get some of that tax money back.
Yeah.
I respect it. Yeah, I'll link them in the description and any other relevant links that we discussed, so people can go and get their shit.
That's it.
The one that gives you kickbacks as well. I'll be sure to link that.
Yeah, I'm Rebellious Liberty. I'm gonna get all of your business now.
That's okay, man. I mean, it is what it is. You deserve it more than me.
No.
Anyways, all right, that's that. I got a shitload of other dumbass questions, you idiots. Give me better questions. But,
I got a couple of good ones. Mostly on the topic of filters. One guy said on eBay there's a filter called the Model 2001 A1, and he said it goes for $10. He wants to know your thoughts on it.
Say that again. I'm just gonna Google it, look at the specs, and I'll tell you right now.
Model 2001 A1. He said it sells for $10. So I don't know.
My intuition tells me is your life worth more than $10?
My other prepping knowledge tells me that $10 is a little low.
Yeah, you already spent the money on the mask. At least get the good filters.
I bet you that's the year it was made, 2001, and a lot of the times they're surplus. And filters, I mean, they can last a long time, from what I know, but
If
It
they're
matters-
stored
you wanna-
correctly.
Yeah,
it depends on how they're stored.
you don't
Yeah,
know
exactly.
the background of that filter, and so it gets difficult when you're buying surplus for super cheap.
Just looking at it, it looks like it's not coming from any reputable source whatsoever. Like the company that makes those filters, I've never even heard of them. And they're not
Just
really.
looked it up on eBay, and all it says is shipping from Russia. That's pretty much all it's got.
Don't buy Russian
In other words, fuck
filters.
your $10 filter.
Yeah, Russian filters are not the move. But just looking at what it's rated at, like on the side of the filter, it's not. Just buy a $30 Dot Pro and you'll be fine.
So that's a question I've got. Someone was like, "What the fuck are pro masks?"
So I get that a lot, and Pro Mask, it's nothing. It's just short for protective mask. Gas mask is the same thing as a Pro Mask.
Gotcha. Another one from an unknown source. Does CBRN really live in a pro mask?
Is that the one that I asked you?
Yeah, it is.
I stay. I asked
Stay
everybody
safe.
a question. Everybody that posted a thing like, "Hey, ask CBRN questions." I tried to ask you a dumb question, and yes, I do.
You
there
asked
you go.
me if we need to use filters with a mask. Like, is it necessary?
Big old open sides. Like, yep, this is fine.
Be surprised. I get that question very often.
Oh,
Did
God.
any of you guys get questions about homemade masks?
I got one about.
I feel like we should touch on that. I know he gets asked that a lot.
What I think is important in these episodes is not everyone keeps up to date or like is familiar with our guests. So like we gotta nail all of the really
Get all
on
the
that
big things out of the way.
Yeah, like with poor Dr. Boog. Are tampons good for gunshot wounds? No, the fuck they're not. And so now we have to ask CBRN, are piss rags good enough?
Absolutely fucking not. Do you want to hold? So I'll explain why they were used and why people think they were used.
Good shit.
Back in the World Wars, when chemical weapons were being used, the military was like, fuck, we're getting fucked up with chemical weapons, but we can't get our soldiers like the proper people. So what can we do? Well, if we tell them to get the fuck out of there, they're just going to be like, whatever, we'll just die. Kind of like how people do today. If there's ever a chemical attack, I'll just die. And obviously, that costs them a lot of money. So they were like, what's going to get people to actually get the fuck out of there? If we tell them to piss in a rag and hold it to their face. Because who the fuck is going to, want to stay somewhere where they have to hold their own piss to their fucking mouth,
So maybe it was guys who are living in rat-infested trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised. It didn't work as well as they intended, but it's created this lore that piss can filter out chemical and biological agents, and unfortunately,
I believe it's not true.
I feel
was really betting on that.
I've heard something so fucking stupid.
I mean, it works on jellyfish, right?
Well, that's just because it's
very separate.
It's a chemical that's chemistry.
Does a jellyfish work as a gas mask?
Yes.
What?
A
Only if you
jellyfish?
put the tentacle side down.
Write that down.
All right, that one's going in the book.
Necessary.
Beyond uninformed CBRN chapter.
I have a question that we really do need the answer to, like on a serious note.
Is this going to be an serious note?
No, it's going to be the big titty fucking goth girl or itty bitty.
Oh, no,
I already
don't
know
do
it.
It says, "Can I snort coke through a pro mask?"
That was a serious question.
Ooh, good question.
I'm about to blow your mind. You can smoke, you can vape, you snort coke all through your mask if it has a drink tube.
Whoa.
Really?
Oh shit!
All right, you heard it here first, kids. A mask with a drinking tube.
That answers my question. Is it possible to have a setup like Charlie in It's Always Sunny, when he had the full body suit and he was able to drink alcohol while? All right, done.
I just saw that episode.
I like it.
All right.
Yes, it is. All you need is a drink tube, and you just hook that sumbitch up to your vape, your fucking blunt, or coke. You just put them in your fucking nose and
Little bullet.
have at it.
There you go. I like it.
Oh man, We might be against the boob,
need
but
to
it's a
dilute
deadly
your-
fucking fighting force.
You need to dilute your Coke into like a saline solution and like do something else. I'm not sure how. Snorting through the straw would.
Just switch to meth and shoot it between your toes.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Or yeah, just
You're
go
just
pure
making too
injection.
much sense.
Way more Aryan of you.
You could always just smoke crack through it. That would work.
I'm surprised M's not. No, like the eMilitia does not condone using drugs.
I was going to say it earlier, but you guys were all talking.
Oh, and just know we would absolutely override that with some of us who.
Every single time.
Yeah.
We condone doing drugs.
Usually I'm like, don't do drugs, and BR's like, do some drugs. It's like, no, don't do drugs.
If it comes from the ground, you can probably get that.
Speaking of drugs, not to get off topic again real quick, but one of the absolute worst parts of my job is that I'm the UPL, the unit prevention leader, so I have to administer the drug tests and kick the...
Oh, Christ.
Wow.
So you a snitch or not?
Holy shit.
I can't do anything about it. I just watch them piss into a cup and then send it off to a lab, and then after that, like, there's nothing I can do.
You're supposed to be like, yo, homie, check out this thing called the Wizinator.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about another quick story about the Wizinator. This African American fella decided to smoke pot over the weekend.
Oh, okay, never mind.
This African American fella decided to smoke pot over the weekend and came into work, and there was a surprise drug test on Monday, and he because you have to watch urine leave the body. He whips out a dick, and and I'm just looking at it, and I looked at him, and I'm like, "Are you dead ass, man?" But I'm not gonna say the outcome of that story.
Profiling my penis?
Yep, I'm definitely not gonna say the outcome of that story because I could probably get in trouble for what happened. But we'll just leave it at that.
Are you racially profiling?
No, kind of, yes.
Kind of, maybe.
White. What are you gonna do?
Have you ever seen a dude's penis and been like, I'm not a doctor, but you should go have that looked at? That's not right.
I can't say I have, but there has been instances where I've collected piss in bottles and I look at it and I'm like, you're unhealthy.
You have drink this stuff called water.
Anytime I know I'm going to have a piss test, I try to make sure I eat a lot of asparagus.
You're a maniac. You're one of the worst.
You are why I hate my job.
That and drink Monster Energy drink because it gives it that like neon look to it.
Yeah.
And Brussels sprouts.
It look fucking radioactive.
Yeah,
Puffs.
I'm like, if you're gonna handle my piss, you're at least gonna be amazed by it.
So I got kind of a funny story about drug testing. So I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast, but I come from a military family. But my dad, the military guy, is married to kind of a hippie lady, my mother, and so they both got into VW campers. And so my dad went from very sporadic drug testing, and then they bought this old VW camper to fix up. Next thing you know, the guy might be the most drug-tested man in the military because it became his daily driver. He got drug tested, I think once every 3 weeks for about 2 years consistently.
Fucking Christ.
Hilarious.
Luckily, the guy only drinks, but Jesus fucking Christ, he's got the records to prove it.
It's hilarious.
Fucking harassed.
VW bus.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was it must have been early 2000s, and yeah.
Here's my biggest problem with drug testing is most drugs that people are using are out of your body in like 3 to 5 days. 5 days being like max. But marijuana is like 30 days.
Yeah, and the most common and also most harmless one is like fuck.
Yeah, the most benign.
Yeah.
Where do we go for advice or for questions from there? Here's a good one I just got. Can I use tampons as a gas mask by shoving them up my nostrils?
God damn it.
After using them to pack a wound. Well, I guess the real question is, does blood in a tampon make an effective filter?
You gotta piss on them first. That's the trick.
Yeah, you gotta piss on it first and glue them together to make your homemade mask.
There you go.
And they work better if you drink Monster before you pee on them.
Bonus points if you throw on safety glasses too for your eye pro.
CBRN challenge. CBRN challenge.
This is a gross
CBRN
episode.
I'm sorry.
Don't mean to disappoint you.
Well, I mean, biological's in the name, CBRN, so...
I mean, you're not wrong.
Everybody pees.
Yeah, we are going...
There's your episode title. Everybody.
Did you know you produced your own biological filter?
What other questions did you guys get from Instagram?
Are there any good books on CBRN knowledge, or is it all from training for you?
This is gonna sound like a cop-out answer, but it's really the best answer that I could give when people want that. Just literally Google Army, or don't even put Army, just type in CBRN training, and you will get a ton of PDFs, a ton of slideshows, a ton of videos, like of training that's more interactive than and I love reading, but it's more interactive than just opening a book, because CBRN training in a book can be very dry. So
yeah,
if you just Google it, like literally just Google CBRN training, and there's way more resources there than any one that I could just be like, oh yeah, go read this book,
The information age, motherfuckers. You grew up with Google, but you don't know how to use it.
People ask me questions, and all I do when they ask me questions, Google it. So
I tell my kids that.
Well, I mean, whenever people ask me like, hey, is this filter or mask good, and I haven't recognized it, I'm just going in Google and I'm like, oh, no, it's not. Or I'm like, oh yeah, it is,
Thanks, Google. Well, sorry, DuckDuckGo is the only
DuckDuckGo is
the only appropriate libertarian answer.
I was gonna say, I got a friend who would be so mad that.
I use DuckDuckGo. I just haven't
too.
Converted it to my fucking vocabulary yet.
Sometimes their searches are less fun or less accurate for what I'm looking for, but
I don't know.
I changed it on my phone so that my phone automatically uses it.
There you go.
It doesn't really work as a verb very well.
No, I'm just gonna go and duck it. What?
Just duck it.
I'm gonna DDG it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's not gonna.
I try to say do an internet search. You need to just do an internet search on that, but that's not as easy as saying
That sounds like the 90s.
Yeah, that's
right.
Dude.
And I already have that problem, so
there you go. Just Google it.
Sorry for the cop out
Fuck
answer.
your books.
Not really a cop-out answer.
Like it is.
Sometimes when there's a subject that you can just DuckDuckGo, and like you said, information like PDFs and videos and training just pops up, it's not. That's the answer. Hey, dude, watch the video that teaches you the most. What are you asking me for?
Well, it's like that with any training. People are like, oh, well, what can I learn in the military? The retarded thing about our army and our military in general is literally everything is public knowledge. How we operate, how we conduct an assault, a raid, all of our doctrine is there.
Oh, my favorite thing is when you see boomers, when you see recruitment ads pop up and boomers are like, hey, we shouldn't be posting this publicly. It's like, dude. Fucking nothing. Oh, well, I was in 63 to 73, and all of this, we shouldn't be putting it out there. It's really top secret stuff. No, you were finding this in public libraries back when you were in, mate. Calm down. It's how the Anarchist cookbook came into existence. It's not some fucking college student didn't just manifest all this knowledge himself. He went and read some military guides. So I've got kind of a juicy question. So in the event of a full-scale, confiscation, collapse, boogaloo type event, whatever you might want to call it, what do you think would be the most likely CBRN dangers for the average dissident?
Believe it or not, I am more worried. I'm not worried too much about the state using any type of CBRN agents besides tear gas. Because if the state uses any type of chemical, biological, weapons, then they just breed, just absolutely breed fucking resistance, because everybody knows, hey, chemical weapons are kind of fucked. But they get away with using tear gas. I mean, like in Waco and a couple other places. But I'm more worried about people making homemade weapons in their fucking basement or garage and not knowing how to properly. I don't even want to say properly employ them, because there's no proper way to do it, but there is a very controlled way to do it that can mitigate a lot of risk. But like a gust of wind comes along and that agent that you just released into the air is now traveling 3 miles away in a low-lying area where just random people are getting fucked up from it.
Yeah, that's actually a good note to bring up, seeing as we talked about, peaceful resolutions over violent ones and such. And if fucking worst case scenario came down to some sort of civil conflict, and people are like legitimately looking into using IEDs and gas agents and stuff, that's exactly how you lose a civil war, because you go from being the underdog, the victim, to being the very thing they're going to paint you as from the start. Terrorists. Like it's one thing to paint a bunch of flag-waving Americans stand their ground as terrorists, but it's quite another to be like, oh yeah, these guys are using chemical agents which cause collateral damage. They're using IEDs which cause collateral damage. They're killing civilians as well as federal agents indiscriminately. That's how you fuck yourself. That's what fucks the IRA. It's what fucks a lot of terrorist groups. Going from having the public support, like, oh yeah, they're resistance fighters, and then it turns to, oh yeah, they're terrorists. Fucking bomb them to the Stone Age. We don't care anymore. Like we have no sympathy for how you treat these people.
It's chemical weapons are so difficult to control as they are, and people that are trained to employ them. There's so many variables that go into what can happen. For example, like if it's a cold day out, it's going to go more to low-lying areas and it's going to travel along the ground. There's so many different variables that go into it, and it's so unstable and it's so difficult to properly employ and control, and it's just nasty shit.
No, fuck yeah. Well, damn. All right. Seeing as it's the talk of the day, do we want to touch on good old Corona?
We can, by all means.
I think touching on it, so many people are freaking the fuck out. And being someone who a lot of our community turns to, like, should we be concerned about this? What's your kind of take on the situation, from the mass hysteria to the actual legitimate threat of the virus and such?
If you're not like 50 years old with a pre-existing condition, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
You'll get sick. You will. Like, I'm not saying you won't get sick, if you get it, and it is contagious in the sense where, like, let's say you have like a mother, a father, or a grandparent,
What about babies?
Oh, from as far as I know, the latest things that I've seen in my little brain trust that I haven't talked to, none of us have seen or heard of any cases of any children at all, like infants up to actual like children up to like 20-year-old adults that didn't have a pre-existing condition that made them more susceptible to disease, where they got sick and died.
What about me? I'm like 110 and I got a bunch of pre-existing conditions.
Wash your ass and make sure that everybody you come in contact with washes their ass.
Okay. Like, say like I have to venture out in the public.
Better wear that pro mask.
With a little, like, them little paper masks that you see all the Asians wearing for the smog, is that enough? Or
so
canceled.
There's a couple different grades of masks that you can get. The ones that you're talking about, the surgical looking masks. The N95 is what you want. That filters out, I believe it's like 95% of any diseases or viruses or anything that's in the air.
Oh, the one the government was telling us not to buy?
Yeah. It filters out like 95%, but then if you want to travel around with that, by all means, just know that your eyes are still port of entry, although it's very difficult unless somebody like sneezes or coughs directly into your face, and you don't close your eyes in time, like it's difficult to contract it through your eyes. But they do work, and I know the CDC has released something saying don't wear it unless you are sick, and that is true, but it can also be used to prevent getting sick. I don't know why they would say, unless there's something I'm not understanding, I don't know why they would suggest to only, wear it if you are sick to prevent it from, transferring it to people, because it filters out. So if you breathe in, it's filtering out what's in the air. So it's preventing it too. But whatever, CDC is
I
hit or
heard that
miss.
that would actually like make it worse because it keeps and again, like I'm no expert, I don't know if any of this shit is true. But like if you already have it like in you or whatever, then if you have the mask on whenever you exhale, it's not like letting any of it out. So it's just like a constant cycle of breathing it in. How that works.
All right. So that it's a really good question. I want you to think of it like this: if you have, let's say, syphilis, all right, and I take, a sample of syphilis from somebody else and inject you with it, you're not going to have super syphilis. You're still going to just have syphilis. It's the same thing with any virus or any cold. Like the concentration or dosage doesn't matter if you already have it, unless it's like in extreme high amounts to the point where your body just can't react to it. But
Yeah,
if
but
you're
if it's something you could potentially recover from, wouldn't like constant exposure make that less likely? Or it would at least like elongate it, right?
but if you're going out in public and you have it, you're just being.
But if you think about it, like the way your body works is like the common cold. It's fighting it internally through like white blood cells and everything like that. And most people know, hey, if I got the sniffles, I'm going to have a cold for 3 days. It doesn't affect me like that. So just breathing the same air. I mean, it's no different than being sick and pulling the blanket over your head.
And I just want to be clear, like this isn't like my expertise. This is just what little knowledge I do know about it. Feel the CBRN is way more connected with this stuff than I am. He could probably help you a little more there. And I apologize if I said something that's incorrect. I'm very limited, biological agents and viruses and diseases. It's a whole fucking subcategory in itself. And there's so much to it, but to my knowledge, if you do wear a mask, like it's not gonna concentrate anything and make you sicker.
Fair enough.
What if I like all the doorknobs I come in contact with? I'll become like super immune, right?
The person it's really funny you say that. There's a person at work today that was like, I'm gonna get out of work by licking all the doorknobs to get sick, and I'm like, you're a fucking moron.
All right, see you never.
Not calling you a moron. I'm not calling you a moron.
How much toilet paper should each person have reserved? How much do you have reserved? Is toilet paper even a thing? I don't think like
buy a bidet.
So my wife actually went out the other day and she was like, oh, I was just gonna buy some hand sanitizer for where she works and some fucking toilet paper, just because we needed some in the house. And she came home pissed. She's like, there's no fucking toilet paper at the store. And I'm like, God damn it. And
same thing happened to me, man. Like I just went out to buy some because I'm out, and they were fucking out.
Great.
I should have
screwed because everyone's prepping.
I will say I am fortunate enough to work in an establishment where the government is very wasteful, so I tactically acquire my toilet paper now.
Yeah, good stuff.
Is it decent shit? What kind of toilet paper does the government use?
The government gets that like shitty Hotel 1 Ply shit.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
oh, you're gonna fucking love this. I am not in any way making fun of anybody with any disability. However, the military has a contract with these companies, and on all of their products, like toilet paper, to our uniforms. That's why our uniforms are always so fucked up in inspections, because things aren't aligned. It all comes in bags from the same company, and it just says "made with pride from people that are blind." And it is like I said, I'm not saying blind people are not capable. I'm just saying the company that does that, there's a lot of messed up things that we get, and
they're not very skilled blind people.
There's some things they might be better skilled at,
like hearing.
Yes, but not sewing on, not making sure the seams on my uniform are straight, so I don't get fucked up by some pissed off sergeant major being like, "Why is your pocket crooked over here, and I'll be like, well, because blind people.
Lowest bidder.
Well, from now on, we're gonna hire a blind person to edit our podcast.
Because that's what it requires.
It would be it would be like more comparable if we hired a deaf person.
So yes, the toilet paper is the quality that you would expect from blind people.
Goddamn.
But free is free.
But blind people don't know when they get poop on their fingers.
I was about to say.
The blind people can't
how
be
do they know?
manufacturing the toilet paper. Maybe they're just packaging it.
No, I don't know what exactly they're doing, but from the quality of the toilet paper, I would assume that they're making it.
All right.
Oh man. Well, we have learned a lot today. unless anyone has any further questions, hopefully not about toilet paper. No.
I've learned all I need to know about government toilet paper.
There you go. I mean, if nothing else, you now know the government employs blind people, so that's kind of good, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
You shouldn't employ anybody.
Anybody is really good.
Yeah. All right. All right. Fuck the government and fuck those welfare whore blind people. According to my co-hosts, that's not BR's opinion. That is everyone else.
Hey, I don't care if they're a blind fed, they're still a fed.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
If you're a blind person making shitty toilet paper, hey.
No. Fuck you especially.
Statist.
Our heroes in uniforms' asses are sore because of your shitty work. your shitty blind craftsmanship.
I mean.
Oh, well, maybe that's like a form of agorism.
I was gonna say that's good. That's good.
It's a really fucked up form of it. But the soldiers are walking around like, my asshole fucking stings, dude. Like, mine too. And there's some blind agora somewhere like, fuck the state, let it burn.
If you left the military because of this terrible toilet paper, let us know in the comments.
But also, if you're claiming 60% disability because your asshole is like ruined from just toilet paper and not your NCOs.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe if you notice your asshole's whack, buy your own toilet paper. Quit fucking relying on the state to provide your toilet paper.
I can't buy my own fucking toilet paper because everybody else is buying it all.
CBRN, you fucking welfare whore.
Hey, if I pay taxes for the fucking toilet paper, then I'm taking the fucking toilet paper.
I respect it.
God.
Also, if you're stealing it out of utility, I mean, who can blame you?
No, I don't like the word stealing. It's tactically acquired.
Yeah. Come on now. The best thing. the best thing I ever acquired from the military. My dad took a fucking rifle Pelican case from them. He was like, they didn't seem to be using it. Okay.
Tactically acquired. He tactically acquired it.
Yeah.
Well, is there a second one they don't seem to be using either?
Unfortunately, he's retired now, but I'm sure he could have fucking cleared him out.
One of the bases that I was at one point in my career, they were switching out the PEC 15s with airsoft PEC 15s, and nobody knew until one day we went out to do a night live fire, and they're like, "Hey, our laser isn't working."
Oh shit!
That's funny.
That's pretty fucking funny.
What was that website again?
I had a cousin in the Navy who used to sell like stolen like spare airs and shit for fucking. He did it for years, dude. For like solid 5 years. You could buy like like the spare airs, which is like a little portable diving device. You know, like they cost $400-600 in the store. My cousin would be slinging them out of the back of his truck at festivals and events for $100. Oh yeah, no big deal. It's like, oh yeah, you'd steal them by the friggin' case, dude. Like trunks full of them.
Here, tactically acquired.
Oh, excuse me. Tactically acquired.
Tactically acquired.
Beautiful new verbiage. Right. So yeah, if you learn anything, government toilet paper sucks. Tactically acquired shit if you're in the military. Coronavirus. If you're not fucking elderly, or a baby, or even if you're a baby, you're probably fine. And yeah,
I mean, honestly, who needs the olds anyway?
yeah, fucking boomers.
What's gonna happen now is tomorrow a bunch of like middle, like 20-year-olds are gonna die from the coronavirus, and then this is gonna go out.
Yeah.
Seaver and BoogBoi spreading false information.
Stand by it.
We'll issue a correction.
No, we won't.
We won't.
We don't do that.
That's literally not going to happen.
I will go out of my way to make sure that correction doesn't happen.
It's against my religion.
Anyway, let's try and end this, and we can shoot the shit after. So, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Fuck yeah, we want to do it for a while, but I don't know how long back we fucking asked you, but yeah, we're shit at organizing, clearly. Anyway, glad to finally.
Do you have any plugs aside from your Instagram? I don't know what else you have.
Just always shoot me a DM if you want. Like I said, I answer all my DMs. If you want a mask, come talk to me. I won't just plug the ones that I get a kickback from. I'll try and help you out as best I can. If you want to help out the community, you can go to paratrooperarmynavy.net. He's a military veteran, and he sells my patches, and over half the money goes into the community and things like that. And then I always end up putting way more money than these things anyway. So, it gives me incentive to spend my money that the government gives me from your taxes. So,
fuck yeah.
Nice.
On bail funds.
Yeah, I donated some money to that actually.
Fuck yeah.
I guess.
Oh, and your 10K giveaway now that you're approaching 12 and eventually 15K. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So let me give you a little inside eMilitia exclusive on this. The reason it's taking so long is because there may or may not be a full upper and some plates and pretty much a full-blown kit to include. I'll just give you the whole fucking list. You know what? eMilitia exclusive. You get the full fucking list of what's going to be here. And I apologize if I forget some stuff. Obviously, the some of the eMilitia sent out some of their own merch, so you'll get some slaps and patches from there. M Block Press, he sent some merch. Who else sent some merch? Control Pew, he might send some 3D printable stuff. I'm not savvy with all that, so he just said that he's going to send some
There will
stuff.
be plastic.
There will be plastic. I'm talking with a couple different plates distributors, and I'm not, because a couple offered steel, and fuck steel, falling and dying. So I'm trying to make sure you guys actually get some quality stuff, and we're working on that. I don't want to say who's supplying the upper yet, but he is a very known, reputable gear man in the show. I'll be supplying a mask, a full CBRN suit. Paratrooper Army Navy sent close to $500 worth of shit for the giveaway. Like it's gonna be awesome. The whole community. Like I tried to get some people in every little niche in the community, and I never thought it would get. Oh, and Lucky 7 Forge made a fucking Viking axe, which is dope.
I saw that. That was fucking badass.
The whole community has really come together on this one, which it was kind of my intent to begin with, but then it just kept getting bigger and more people wanted to put more things into it. So while I was supposed to give it out at 10K, Lucas Bakken shout me out, and I just got to 10K like fucking that, and now I'm at 12. So it's taken a little bit, but it'll get there. Hopefully within the next week or two, I'll have everything finalized and actually with me. Oh, there's also going to be Baofeng radios. Hopefully it's all put together real soon, and I can actually get it out to you guys.
The only thing you're missing is fucking nods, unless they're on the way.
I've talked to some people, but nods are pretty fucking pricey.
Yeah.
I donated. Am I still eligible?
Oh yeah, you're still eligible.
Because I'm trying to win an upper.
So I guess how can we enter this giveaway of yours would be a good final note.
So I'm still trying to figure that out, because what I used to do, I don't think it's too practical anymore because so many people enter them now. All you really have to do is what I was gonna do. You just have to tag somebody, just because I'm trying to. That's my goal for this page now. I want to, branch out instead of being in that echo chamber. I want to branch out and talk to other people that are and try and convert people. And all you have to do is just tag somebody. They don't have to follow me or anything. Just tag someone and you're entered. But I'm trying to figure out a way to where I could pick somebody now, because last time I did just the M50 giveaway, I had like 8,000 entries, and I can't just put that all. Yeah, I can't just put that into a spinny wheel, So what I ended up doing, I ended up loading all the comments. You know how like you can like load them all, and then I just closed my eyes and I just started scrolling, and then I just poked my finger on a random fucking thing, and that's who won. And I don't know if I can do that again, because then some people will be like, oh, he's just picking you, like, his friends. Like, I'm always nervous that I'm gonna land on I land on like fucking hang them for freedom, and then they're like, oh, you're just helping out your fucking buddies. I'm like,
yeah. But at the same time, like, you're not trying to make this super hard on yourself. Like, you'll see some places like, oh, we're giving away if you tag someone, follow us, follow this person. Who's looking that much shit up?
I ought to reach out to like some of the bigger pages that have done giveaways and just see how they do it. There may be some kind of like program or app or something that they know about that you can use.
So Google it. There you go.
Keep an eye out on CBRN's page for that. Obviously, follow him on Instagram if you're not already. I seriously fucking doubt anyone who listens to this podcast does not already follow you, but just in case.
Hey, you never know.
And fuck, that was quite the echo. Yeah, I guess that's a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for coming on, man.
No, thanks for having me. I've been a huge fan of you guys since before I was even in the community, so it's an honor, really.
You fucking.
Well, now you are a main pillar, so
like overnight, so fucking quickly.
I don't know how it happened because I'm kind of a fucking retard, but I'm trying.
Yeah, we all.
I thought you were gonna.
It's okay. It's okay. You'll get over it.
Deal.
That's
Plow through it.
No, I owe a lot to you. Just you guys educating me and getting me more, into the community. Empress of Memes, her and I talked a lot, before she went on her little hiatus or break. I honestly don't even know what you're doing, Emp, but whatever it is, like.
Yeah, you better come back.
Figure it out.
Yeah, but she's the one who introduced me to agorism. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I heard her say agorism, and
agorism is Canadian and European. Agorism is for civilized people.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you guys have really brought me in without even realizing it, and I just think if every one of us can get like one or two people, I mean, we're fucking golden.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I've said to Whiskey. I mean, Whiskey converted me, and subsequently I went out and I've been told I've converted a fair few people, and I mean, even if you convert like one or two other people, you're making a fucking massive impact. But if you go out there
during this podcast, I rubbed it in my wife's face that I converted you. Have it recorded, and then it'll be released on Tuesday.
There you go.
I'm like, there. That's what I did. I'm contributing to the community.
Proof that all of this bullshit is worth it. Changing minds.
You guys were awesome.
Fuck yeah, thank you, man. All right, well, thanks for listening, people, and I'm sure CBRN will have them on again, and yeah, see you next time.